It's the Rebel Yell Podcast, Trib Live High School Sports Network, presented by Edgar Snyder and Associates. They've been a great sponsor all year long, actually years now. We thank them for supporting high school sports, especially here in the postseason. Go local. Go with Edgar, helping injured people since 1982. If needed, check them out, edgarsnyder.com. We are through one round of the PIAA state playoffs, a.k.a. the road to Hershey, and we are here to give a big tip of the cap to our WPIAL team of the week. I think the girls went 500 overall, 18-18. Boys, slightly better. I think 3, maybe 4 games over 500, but good start. Not a great start, not a terrible start for WPIAL teams in the state playoffs. The one thing that really stands out when you break it down, 6 classifications, boys, 6 girls, is 5A girls. Again, this since the advent of 5 classifications, girls hoops in the state playoffs have done a tremendous job. Maybe not always winning it, but last year was a bit of a hiccup. It was not a dominant performance by this class, but we're back to dominating 6-2. One of those winning teams is our team of the week, the Trinity Hillers, and a former Hall of Fame type player. I'm going out on a limb there, Billy, but a great, outstanding player, and he knows about championships. He was a champion player. Now hoping to build a championship coach resume, and he's off to a good start. Bill Poletti of Trinity, former Chartiers Valley Colt, kind enough to join us. Bill, we appreciate it, and congrats. Second year at Trinity, and great success so far.
Yeah, Don, thanks for having me. We're really honored to receive the Team of the Week award.
Earned. Almost pulled it off a few weeks ago, which we'll talk about. Before we dive into this season, this postseason, and specifically the big win over Hollidaysburg in round 1, I want to go back to a year ago. You had been an assistant at Trinity for a few years under the great Kathy McConnell Miller. She would make sure I would say that, the great Kathy McConnell Miller. She leaves for the college job at, was it CMU?
Yeah,
Yes.
Carnegie Mellon.
Carnegie Mellon. Great opportunity. And you take over, you slide right in. 12-win season for the team, but missed out on the playoffs in a very tough section in Class 5A. You guys finished in 5th place, a game behind Bethel Park, but 12-9 overall. Just how did that, now that it's in your rear view mirror for over a year, would you say that first season went for you?
I think it went well. We were really, really young last year. We brought back this year basically our whole team. And last year, Sutton was really only the only player who'd ever played varsity basketball before. So we knew it was kind of going to be a growing year, but I'd coached a lot of these girls at the JV level when I was coaching under Kathy. And we knew the talent was there. I just had to match some experience with it, and fast forward into this year, that's paid off.
Yeah, having gone through it, as you mentioned, the adjustment not as great because you kind of slid right in, knowing the girls, but having gone through that and knowing that there were probably some hiccups, can you imagine a guy or gal taking over a program in which really starting from scratch, in which they don't know, they're an outsider, they don't know much about it. First time job as maybe a head coach. That's tough. So it was made a little easier in that you had been there.
Yeah, it was definitely a nice transition knowing the girls, just kind of personality types, play types, and I appreciate the administration for having faith in me to do the job.
Paying off. They look like geniuses now. And again, I want to emphasize while you did not make the playoffs a year ago, 12-9. So it was a growth season. It was a season of growth. It was a successful season overall, as well as they got a taste of the carrot, so to speak, and it has paid off in this season. What? How did you grow when you had a chance once the season ended? Did you notice that you were doing things later or near the end of the season, or even earlier this season that you weren't doing early in your tenure?
I think the big thing was just getting familiar being the head coach. And Kathy did such a good job preparing me for it. But you don't have the experience until you're actually in it.
Right.
So kind of just going throughout the year and learning, what works and different kind of responsibilities that are on your plate as a head coach. After the season, I, sat down and was like, all right, I feel much better prepared for it for this year. And so far, so good.
Yeah, I read a little thing about how you mentioned she wanted you, hoping that at some point you would take over the program. She allowed you to sort of sit in on her media scrums just so you kind of got a taste of all that.
Yeah, that was a major help. I mean, Kathy, she did a great job preparing me as an assistant for someday if I ever wanted to be a head coach. I'd be ready. So yeah, I think a lot of things that she did for me, maybe most assistants didn't get to experience. The intricacies of our game planning. Yeah, just something simple as a media scrum, and hey, come here, let's, how would you answer this? How would you handle this? From a player's perspective, just really, really appreciative for all that you did for me.
Sutton Williamson. I'm assuming Jonah's younger sister.
Cousin.
Cousin. Okay,
Mhm.
well, it's a great athletic ability in that bloodline.
That's
Jonah
correct. Yeah.
is an outstanding athlete at Trinity, a three-sport star who will be going on to play football at Harvard. So you have Sutton, as you mentioned, really the only experienced player uh, coming into that first season. Bentley Layu, Kamari Barons, Gabby Rigg, five starters, top six players with experience coming into this year. Was the mentality, was the preparation a little different, knowing, all right, we're no longer young, we're no longer, building, growing. There's kind of expectations coming into this season.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And we took some moral victories last year. We play in my opinion, probably the hardest section in the WPIAL. So we took some moral victories last year, but we'd said before the season, there is no more moral victories this year, that there are expectations of making the playoffs and, making the state playoffs. And the girls, credit to them, they've taken the challenge on head on, and, they've done a really nice job with it.
I like that. No more moral victories. We got to put W's up. And you guys started well, 5-0 to begin the season. You had another 5-game win streak right after the holidays. Once the regular season ended, what was your take as you guys were preparing for the postseason?
I think my biggest take is we were prepared. We really tried to schedule a hard non-conference, to help prepare us for our section. You knew you were going to be in a lot of grind them out type games, not too many blowouts one way or the other. So we used our non-section to prepare us for what we were about to embark on in the section. And then by the time our regular season was over, we were like, okay, we're ready for whatever gets thrown at us here in the postseason.
Yeah. You begin the WPIL playoffs, first round against West Allegheny, dogfight grind, as you call it. And, having that, that's why you build. Whether you're in a tough, you can't control the section, right? If you're in a tough section, it's going to be a battle. But even if you're not in a tough section, you try to challenge, or you should challenge yourself out of section for games like this. The first round game, dogfight against West Allegheny on the road. You guys persevere by only 2 points, 50-48. Just talk about that and how that bulldog mindset paid off.
Yeah, it was, and it was credit to West Allegheny. It was one of the neatest environments I've ever been a part of. Their gym was full. It was fun environment to play in. Back and forth game. Our team didn't quit. I mean, I think we were up 10 with maybe like 3:30 left. They tied it, and our point guard Vid Emmerich got fouled, taking a three. With about a half a second left, and stepped up and knocked down 2 free throws to get us a really big win for our program.
Sutton leads the way with 15 points as you guys advance with the victory, 50-48. Up next in the quarterfinals, the Green Machine, Big Bad South Fayette. The Lions have obviously been a power in the district, really this whole decade. But high expectations this year after winning a state championship a year ago and having so many players returning it. And they took care of business during the regular season. They lived up to expectations. Only loss was down, I think, in Florida over the holidays. So here they come. And really almost the shot heard around the world, or at least around the WPIAL. You guys so close to pulling off a major upset, big time scare. And they haven't been in too many tight games. Final score 26-23. My first thought when I saw the score was, wow, the Hillers were able to take the air out of the basketball. And against that team, that's not easy to do. But then I was talking to someone who was at the game, and they said, no, it really wasn't the case. It was, it wasn't back and forth, but it wasn't you guys holding the ball out by half court for like 3 minutes at a time
Right.
either. What was the game plan coming in? No, you said no moral victories earlier, but man, that's still a big time feather in your cap, coming oh so close to pulling off a major upset.
Yeah, I think the game plan going in was, we said to the girls, belief in what we were going to do, because we were going to play a little bit differently, and then belief in themselves. Do they believe they can win? And they said, yeah, we believe we can win. And we spent 3 days kind of working on a meticulous offense where we were trying to be really patient, hit some back cuts if we could. Maybe if we get a nice isolation, we could take advantage of that. But they believed, and real credit to them, because it's not an easy thing to do when you try to change the way you play all year. And
no, that's a credit to you and your staff, but also the girls, because I've talked to a lot of coaches who have tried to, whether it be in the regular season or probably more specifically the playoffs, bring in a new wrinkle, whether it's offensively or defensively, and there isn't that belief, and there's more like, and it turns into a disaster when they try to implement that wrinkle. So that's really a credit to you guys, you and your staff, for coming up with that, and then them executing it and believing.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of the credit goes to obviously the kids who played in the game did a great job, but kids like Jordan Burt and Amelia Callis, and who are 2 juniors who gave us an unbelievable look in practice as far as ball pressure goes, and things that we were going to see in the game. They did a great job getting us ready.
What was the mindset of the team in the locker room after coming up 3-point shorts against the powerful Lions?
You know what? They were upset.
Good.
And that's kind of, I knew they believed that they could do it, but, because they said it, but their actions spoke a lot louder than their words. There were some tears. There were some upset players. And at that point, I was like, you know what? We got something special here in this locker room.
That's exactly, you can't fabricate that.
Right.
And having that reaction, instead of like, oh, so close, good try, girls, that's maturation, that's growth, that's expectations, that's all those things you as a coach are looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So out in the quarterfinals, but no shame, no hanging heads. You guys get ready to head to the consolation round. You lose to Baldwin, a very good Baldwin team, in the first round of the consolation game, bounce back in the battle for seventh place with a victory over Fox Chapel on the heels of a heartbreaking loss against South Fayette, on the heels of another loss to Baldwin. You already knew you were headed to the state playoffs, but how big was that victory over Fox Chapel to at least get the taste of success back in your mouth before the road to Hershey?
Yeah, very important. Very important. Just kind of getting started in the state tournament. Coming off of a win as opposed to a loss was really beneficial to our team. Our sophomore post player Gabby Humphreys had probably her best game of the season against Fox Chapel. That gave her a lot of confidence. But a lot of it goes to the credit of our two seniors, Kamari and Bentley. They're all in. They're really invested. They don't want to lose. They're our hardest workers, and that's special when you have two seniors like that. Doing what they do, because basketball is a long season. And they're still all in, just like they were at the start in the middle of November.
You love the desperate ways of a senior or seniors, a group of seniors, when they no longer have the net, when they're not clinched for a playoff berth late in the regular season. First round of the district playoffs, it's win or lose and go home, and the same thing now into the state playoffs. It's there's no you lose and your season's done, and for them their careers are over.
Correct. Yeah, and a lot of the girls, what's neat is we have a really good chemistry in our locker room. The underclassmen are playing for our seniors. They want to try to take this thing as long as they can, and it's been really fun to be a part of.
Is that something you and your staff have tried to foster, or is that something that has come naturally with this group?
It's come naturally with the group. We have 5 juniors and our 2 seniors who've been playing a lot of basketball, and they're really close, and they're really close with our younger players too. So it's just, kind of organically happened. But it's been fun to coach this group. Really.
Yeah, you kind of hope that sophomores and freshmen are taking notes for when this talented group of juniors are seniors next year, and they bring that play for them type attitude.
Absolutely.
So begin the state playoffs, a trip out east to Hollidaysburg, District 6, the champion Golden Tigers. You're up by 2, low scoring first quarter. And we saw that that was a theme, I think, in the state playoffs, whether teams were at the Pete or lost in the quarterfinals and were playing consolation rounds, at least from the district. We saw a lot of that slow start mentality, but you guys were up. So not necessarily a bad slow start. You continue, you outscore them 8-6 in the first, 8-6 in the second, up at the half, continued all the way through. Outscored them in the third, outscored them in the fourth, 39-29. First thing that jumps out to me, I know Hollidaysburg at one time was ranked in our top 5 state rankings, is what you did to them defensively, shutting them down.
Yeah, Kamari Barons she guarded their best player, number 23. She was averaging about 17 a game.
Yeah.
And Kamari held her to 8. Just, really followed her around the floor, and we had great help defense, with our other 4, and kind of just got in gaps and didn't allow them to hurt us in the post with Claire Potomonsky and then number 40. They're pretty good, all going Division III, those 3 players from Hollidaysburg. So they took the challenge defensively and did it enough offensively to be able to pull out a win on the road in the state playoffs.
Yeah, not easy, especially now we're first round, that teams have home court advantage. So to go there and win, big time victory for the program. You mentioned Claire Potomonsky, 10 points, the only Golden Tiger in double-digit scoring. Sutton Williamson with 13, but Vid Emmerich leading the way with 17 points.
Yeah, I mean, Sutton's just so consistent. Sometimes you take that for granted, but you know what you're going to get from Sut, and that's what great players do. They're consistent. But Vit, I mean, she had her best week of shooting in practice all season, and myself and my staff were talking like, man, I really hope it carries over. And 5 3-pointers, it certainly did, and we needed all of them.
So you go from knocking out the District 6 champions in Hollidaysburg to now going up against the District 3 champions. York Suburban, only 2 losses the entire season. Go up against them Wednesday in round 2. I'm sure you've done your fair share of scouting with more to come, but what about the District 3 champs?
Really good program. They got a couple guards who can really go. They're very well coached. They run a good defensive system. So we definitely have our hands full, but it's kind of what we've been trying to do all season and preparing them for moments like this. And I can say that they're ready. That they've been through a lot, so I think we'll be able to handle it.
When you're watching film this time of year, when you're playing teams out of the district that you may know nothing about before you start watching, do you as a coach try to compare them to somebody that you are familiar with? And if that is the case, watching York Suburban, is there a team around here that they compare to?
Sometimes you can see some similarities between teams around here. This team, York, not so much.
Okay.
Like I said, they have 2 really good guards. I think both Division I offers. So they're good out front, and then they have a really athletic post. So they're a good basketball team. But I think at this time of the year, you are who you are, and we've kind of hung our hat on toughness and execution and discipline, and I think that plays in the playoffs.
No doubt. Altoona High School, Wednesday, 5:00. Trinity going up against York Suburban, the District 3 champions. Talking to Bill Poletti, head coach, second year of the Trinity Hillers. And I mentioned at the very beginning, one-time WPIAL champion, way back. We were talking beforehand. He knew of the early days of the network. 2004 grad. You were on that Colts team, beat Connellsville in the WPIAL championship game. Only 2 losses all year, one of them in the state playoffs. Fantastic season, fantastic year. What do you remember most about that campaign?
I think, honestly, the togetherness of it. I mean, we lost early in the season at Upper St. Clair that year, and I think we rattled off like 24 straight wins and beat a really good Connellsville team at then the Palumbo Center.
Right.
And it's just kind of the sense that I see amongst our team is, you just don't want it to end. So you just try to work as hard as you possibly can. And it's funny, as a player, it was awesome, getting to experience that. But I've honestly enjoyed it more as a coach, watching the girls experience it. And I didn't know if I would feel that way, but I certainly do. Watching them have success has been really, really rewarding.
I want to touch on that in a moment. One more question back to that 04 campaign. You guys lose in the quarterfinals, I believe, to State College, who then eventually lost to Penn Hills, who went on to win. I think they were the number 5 team out of the WPIAL. I'm not talking about after the loss to State College, but after the tournament when Penn Hills won it all, was there a lot of that should have been us?
Yeah, I think you look back at moments in life and you're like, I did everything I possibly could, and the result is the result. But I think human nature is to say, man, we might have let one slip there. I think we had a long bus trip. It was Play State College, and just didn't play our best that day. But it was a really rewarding season, and as a player, probably the most fun I've ever had in a season at the high school level.
Let's go back to what you said, because I find that to be very interesting. Because most coaches at some level played, whether they were stars or whether they didn't see the light of day but still loved the game, and then eventually got into coaching. when you're a player, no matter how close you are, you got to focus on what you're doing. Yes, you want success, you want to be part of the success for your teammates, but if you're not doing what you need to be doing out there, then you're killing your team anyway. Whereas a coach, you cross the T's and you dot the I's, and then it's kind of out of your control. Yeah, there's some schematics you can change, as you were talking about, that you could do to put your team in the best position to have success, but it's really on them. And I think a lot of coaches have said that can be more frustrating than anything else, is that they can't physically control things as a coach that they could as a player. And that might still be true, but yet your spin is more of an overall feeling of success or pride or whatever, is more so as a coach than as a player.
Yeah, and like I said, I didn't think I would feel that way, when I first got into, on Kathy's staff, like 7 years ago. But just seeing success through their eyes it's really neat. It's fun, like, because they work really hard, which a lot of teams do. The teams that aren't in the playoffs work
Sure,
very
yeah,
hard and stuff like
right.
that. So just seeing their payoff to all the time they put in and the commitment they made, it's yeah, I enjoy it more than when I played.
It's funny you say that. All these years later, with people who have known what I've done for as long as I've done it, will ask, oh, what drives you, what keeps you going, blah blah blah. And part of that is, while the aspect of kids coming from here, there, and everywhere to play on a team, the whole private public debate is kind of the ugly side of things. To me, what I fell in love with back in the time, and still do, is the whole our community versus your community type thing. And you said something there that really, I used to make sure that back in the day every team was covered at least once, because those kids that are 2 and 20, like you said, are working just as hard. They just don't have the talent level that the kids that are playing for a team that's 20-2. So that's what kind of drives you, and I know that's the case for coaches too. That keep them going is just seeing these kids give their all in an effort to try to be successful.
Yeah, and like you mentioned with the community, we're fortunate here at Trinity. We have a community that kind of supports the academics, the arts, the athletics. We have an administration that does all that. And down to the teaching staff. It's a special community, and they really get behind teams and things like that when they're having success. So we had a great turnout in our game on Saturday in Hollidaysburg, which is 2.5 hours away from
Yeah.
us. And our playoff games in the WPIAL were really well attended. So it's special, and that's what makes high school sports special, is that community support.
Another trek, but it's a trek that I'm hoping, and I feel a lot of people will make, back to the Hollidaysburg, Altoona area to see the Hillers in round 2. One more question before I let you go. What got you into coaching? Was it, during a time in your career at Chartiers Valley when Timbo would be screaming in your face, beat red? Was it that moment that you thought, man, I'd love to be a coach?
I think I've been lucky to have some great coaches in my life, starting with my dad, and then being fortunate enough to play for a program like Timbo's in high school, and then going to Duquesne and playing for Coach Schmidt there under the football tutelage of his staff. So that was always a thought, was to get involved in it some way, somehow, in the basketball realm. And I got to thank Kathy, because she was the one who gave me the opportunity. She said, "Hey, we've known each other forever. Why don't you come? You work at Trinity. Why don't you jump on board?" And I was like, "Yep, I'm in."
Awesome. And again, the Hillers Nation is happy to have you. Congrats on the season. It's not over. Work still to be done. Best of luck Wednesday. Tall task, but you guys have shown that you are definitely up for those tall tasks. Continued success, Bill.
Thanks, Don. I can't thank you enough for having me on.
No, my pleasure. You guys #deserve our team of the week honors. Trinity Hillers, our WPIL team of the week. We thank Bill Poletti for taking the time to join us. We thank Chris Lackner, producer extraordinaire, as well. I'm Don Rebel. Thank you for joining us. The road to Hershey continues here on the Trib Live High School Sports Network.